Today we're going to look at part 3 of the Mystery of Godliness, and we've seen Paul equating godliness with Christ. Not Paul equating godliness with you, or not equating godliness with your actions, but equating godliness with Christ. When he begins to talk about that mystery, what we begin to understand that our sanctification or our Christian life, the source of that is not going to be found through our focusing on our strengths and our weaknesses, but it's going to be found as we focus on Christ and all that He has accomplished in spite of our strengths and our weaknesses. And so he says this about Christ: He was manifested in the flesh, which means He came in the flesh and lived and died in our place. He was vindicated by the Spirit, seen by the angels, proclaimed among the nations, believed in the world, and taken up into glory. You know, when Christ came and His name began to, and the news of the resurrection began to spread, not only did it take place in that day, but He has called us that we must proclaim this name. This is a name that is above every name. This is a name that every knee is going to bow to and every tongue is going to confess that Jesus Christ is Lord. And it's going to be through the proclamation of this name that people will begin to believe. You and I can both testify that others brought this gospel to us. And when we heard this gospel, God by His Spirit used that truth to open our eyes to our sin and to open our eyes to His magnificence and allow us through His drawing power. It says in John 6:44 that we can't come to the Father unless we're drawn into Him. And then He says He was taken up into glory. And that is very important if you understand. Taken up into glory is talking about the exaltation of Christ, or it's talking about the glorification of Christ, or the ascension of Christ. That not only did Christ live and die and was He raised here, but He is now ascended to the right hand of God. He is seated at the right hand of God. And the book of Ephesians says, you're seated right there with Him. Let your Christian life be driven through faith in Christ and not faith in yourself.